we are here at the Portsmouth Public Library and doing an interview for the Scioto County Memory Project. I'm just saying that for the camera. And today is, what, the 20th?
No, today's the 18th.
January 18th, 2014. So can you tell us your name?
My name is Doreen Mitchell.
And can you tell me what year you were born? What year you were born?
I was born 1/25/29. I was just in the hospital and I was asked that every 10 minutes.
Really?
And if you get a prescription, they'll ask you your birthday too. That's the one thing I won't forget, although I am 85.
Okay. And so where were you born?
I was born in Ulverston, Cumbria, England.
And how long did you live there before you came here?
I married a GI at the end of World War II and came to live in Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and I was 70.
And so what made you decide where did you meet your husband?
In my hometown, there were American troops stationed there.
And how did you guys meet?
Dances, things like that. We were young, 16, 17. How do you meet guys?
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people meet on the internet now.
It was no problem. We had so many troops stationed there, but only once did we have American troops there, yes.
Okay. And so you guys decided early on to come to Kentucky to live, or?
Well, his home was in Mayfield, Kentucky, which is in Western Kentucky. And then I had several children, and I went home after 7 years back to England, and I stayed a year. And then when I came back, he worked at the egg plant in Paducah, Kentucky, and he stopped and got a job here in Acton, Waverly.
Mm-hmm.
It's an egg plant there. So we sold our house and moved into this area, and I've been moving ever since.
What job did he do at the egg plant?
He's dead, and I'm divorced. What job did he do there? What was his job title? Can't remember. Doesn't matter. He just worked there. He wasn't a scientist. It was just a working job.
Do you remember what year you moved to Scioto County or to Portsmouth?
Well, I was going to have another baby, and my mother came over to help me, and from England, and we were living in Pike County, I think. We moved to Portsmouth, and then my sister came over to live with us too, and so we had to live in Portsmouth, and we drove back and forth.
Okay. What was it like living in Portsmouth during that time?
During that time, oh, it was nice. It was lovely. It was busy. So many shops. There's nothing here now to compare to how it was then. But I'm from a small market town, so I enjoyed it. And I had a lot of English friends. A lot of girls married GIs. And we had our own group. Of course, I think if you have children, that's how you make a lot of friends. But yeah, all my friends. I think I'm the last GI bride living in this area. If that means anything.
So you said that there were other women from England that were here too? Did they have
That
similar?
lived in Portsmouth?
Uh-huh.
Oh yes, we had a whole club. And there were literally thousands of English girls, probably German and French too, that married GIs. And that's one thing we had in common. And we met monthly. Then we used to charter planes to take us home so much cheaper than commercial flights.
What was that experience like being a GI bride?
It was awful for me. It wasn't much fun. I'm one of 4 girls, and he was an only child. We didn't even have an indoor toilet. Do you want this on tape?
We just want to know your experience.
Well, I was from a little country town, but it was civilized, you know. And one place we had to get water from a well. I was a child too, younger than you girls, and having these little babies, one after the other, and they were all premature. It was very difficult for me, and I don't have an English accent now because I was very shy when I first came over. Everybody wanted to talk to me or said, listen to her talk. So I think that's how I lost my accent. Now I don't care. When I go home, it's like I'm bilingual. I fall back into the dialect from England.
So when you go home, your dialect is more British or
You
more?
can't tell mine from my sister who's never left England except to travel.
So you had a lot of pressure to speak differently while you were here?
No. But everybody wanted to, listen to her. And I didn't like that. And I had grown up more I suppose, like New England, and where they're more reserved. And I had never had anybody to hug me and kiss me. And everywhere I went, people were hugging me in Kentucky. And said, isn't she pretty? And I was embarrassed, and I just wanted to blend in, which was good, which I wouldn't now.
Were there other kind of cultural differences that you recognized while you were here in Kentucky or in Portsmouth? Right there in Kentucky and here in Portsmouth?
Many. Well, I know when I was knitting, I'm still knitting, but that's what I grew up doing, and he was a Southern Baptist, and they don't do anything on Sunday, and they said, you can't knit on Sunday, you don't do anything on the Lord's Day. Well, it was for fun. We did it. And yes, there were many differences. It was a cultural step back. And though I come from an ordinary family, it was difficult.
In what way did you feel like it was a cultural step back?
Well, for one thing, an outside toilet, and then having to cook on a big thing that they put wood in to heat with. And I'd grown up in Church of England, which is very reserved. It's really like a Catholic church. I think King Henry VIII decided he couldn't have any more divorces, so he had his own church, and they were Southern Baptists, and that was a shock for me to go. And I remember at the end of the service, the preacher kept coming forward again, and I didn't realize he was trying to call people to the altar, you see. And they'd say, well, sing another verse, and he'd walk up and down the aisle, and I thought, what's this man talking about? And everybody keeps singing. They wanted to come forward. I didn't know that. It was just different in every way, food, everything. And it wasn't all bad. I had some good friends. But and I was very young, and I would not have told my parents that I wasn't happy. More than. And then we moved. When I went home, I stayed for a year, and I had to work to earn the money to go, and it was during Queen Elizabeth's coronation. It was only a couple of few days of coronation, and all of England we went by train after we went by sea and they weren't by trade, and then, I don't think, yeah, all of England was decorated, every street and parties, and I didn't want to come home. I didn't want to come back. My oldest son went to school his first year in England.
Why didn't you want to come back?
I was happier in England and had more comfortable things, and I had a mother and 3 sisters that helped me with my children.
So your children went with you when you went back for a year?
Yes. So why would I want to come back to, I didn't even have a washing machine, I didn't have a refrigerator, I had my spot. And I liked being in England much more, and if it weren't for my children, I'd probably still be there.
So why did you come back after that year?
They were on an American passport, I was not.
Okay. Were you still a citizen of England?
Yes.
Okay. So you were able to go and have a longer stay, but they couldn't because they were American.
Well, they could be, up until they were 18, they had dual citizenship, and then they had to decide, what they wanted to be in it. They never made that decision because they didn't have to. They were automatic. They were born in this country. But should they have decided to be British citizens, they could have spoken up then.
And where are your kids now? What are they doing?
Well, one's right next door.
Great.
Yeah, I have 3 that live in the Cincinnati area.
So you had 4 children total?
I'm sorry,
How many children do you have?
4 now. I had 5. I lost one.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you have 3 in Cincinnati and 1 that lives here in Portsmouth. And
I have raised 3 generations myself, mostly because of drugs and bad things. So I brought them up myself. My own children, one was a flower child. she went to San Francisco. And the next ones it was drugs. And I had, but I enjoyed it because they allowed me to be young. They gave me permission to be a child again.
So you helped to raise your grandchildren then?
My great-grandchildren, and now I have a great-granddaughter, but I'm not raising her. She's got a very good mother. But as far as Portsmouth is concerned, when I leave here, it will be in a wooden box. I'm not moving anymore. And there are a lot of things in Portsmouth that most people don't take advantage of and don't know about. There really are. Without spending a great deal of money. This has been a second home to me. This is the library, is where I first came. And you make friends, you join groups that you thought you might be not, maybe you're interested in, maybe you're not, but I'll go have a seat. And you don't feel obligated to keep going if you don't like it. Yeah, this is, and we have a lovely museum. And I don't think most people that live in this area that are native visited. And there's something going on all the time. The college, the library, the museum. You have to have a great deal of money, which I don't. It's raising 3 generations.
Yeah.
And I got a divorce and raised my children by myself.
Sounds like you're a really strong woman.
I'm sorry.
It sounds like you're a very strong woman.
They tell me I am, but I don't feel it. And my great-granddaughter that is just turned 21 said, "None of you're the strongest woman I know." I think I'm just a list maker, determined. And strength has anything to do with it, trust me. I mean, in my kitchen I have the Serenity Prayer. I've never been an alcoholic, and I need it. I need it. Second line, I've started, I cannot do anything about that. I'm a fixer. I can fix it. I've had a lot of fun. I've written a lot. I belong to a writer's group. And then this group is probably where I've made my best friends in the knitting group. because we can come and knit, and we knit Afghans for the homeless, for the needy. And there's another group that works for cancer victims that have chemo and gas and things. But down here, we can come and knit, and we can knit on our squares, and we'll get bored with that. You can knit a little something for the family. You can talk. Sometimes we eat. But I'm completely at home with everybody. And they have which I'm thrilled to death with, the new wall up there that's an art wall. And each month is different. And I was thrilled to death to have that put in. Thrilled to death. Because that is just a blue painted wall, but that put hangers and everything. And I won the second prize with an oil painting.
Oh.
The funny thing is, you make pictures of what you're going to bring. And they decide. And they chose 3 of mine, but none of those were our favorites. But you can't worry about that because everybody has different tastes, you see. And the thing that won a second prize has been hanging in my dining room probably 15 years next to the window. I don't ever remember about anybody saying, I really like that painting. So it depends on the judge, what their field is. And then we had photography. Let's see, drawing, I believe, sketching. And all I bought was an old boot that I'd sketched. Didn't win anything, I don't care. It's just time that we had some art in here too, both for ourselves and the children. Children are important. And then when I had 2, when I first moved, that's one reason I moved back to Portsmouth. I had lived in Lima, Ohio. And I brought the girls to everything there was here. And they loved it. But do you want to interview me about the library, about my life?
Anything that you'd like to talk to us about?
Oh, well, you don't want to talk to me because I was vaccinated with a gramophone needle. My father said, I don't stop talking.
Well, that's perfect.
If you'll wait one
Stop
second, I'm gonna
talking.
reset.
We are both at Ohio State University, and Maddie is a senior, actually.
At Ohio University?
Ohio State.
In Columbus?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes,
okay. My great-granddaughter lives there that has the great-great-granddaughter, but she's just started school and she's going to go downtown, I think. It's a
Oh, that's
shame, but
great.
she,
Good for her.
Anything is
you
good.
know,
yeah.
she has to work and she's a single mom and she just started to go there. I'm so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
wonderful.
grateful. But if I'd managed to persuade her to stay here with me and go to Shawnee State, first time we got upset, she'd have run back home to Columbus, wouldn't she?
I don't know.
Yeah, she would. But the thing about it is, when she lived here with me, we went to the museum, we went to everything the library had,
Yeah.
theater, and she doesn't do that in Columbus, although it's available there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about having people to go with and having that encouragement and.
Well, I know, because I live alone.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, but this, I don't feel alone when I come here because these gals are, well, I'm the oldest now. I have to get used to that. For so many years I was the youngest by marrying so young, but I am the oldest.
How long have you been coming to the library for?
I've been back in Portsmouth 15 years and I've been coming that long.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you like most about coming to the library?
Oh, I was running to someone I know, but reading, I read. I mean, I could just take them a card with titles and things I'd like, and they get them, and now they get them from not just Portsmouth, but all around. So I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I belong to a book club, but it isn't to do with the library, but it started here. And I've just started an inspirational book club, mostly because a friend goes there.
Mm.
But I said, I'll try it, but don't preach to me,
Mhm.
because I do find you get preached to
Yeah.
a lot by people that are church people. They're really church people, you know. My father used to say, well, I've been 3 times when I was born, when I was christened, when I was buried. English people are not as religious.
Hmm.
I think, and this is my theory, that when people first came to America, that was their social background. That it wasn't so much that they couldn't preach, have religion in England. They could, although they were, let's see, what is it, the Puritans? They weren't supposed to, because the English church owned so much of England. But over here, when they come, they bring their religion with them, and they didn't live close together, so their church was their social outlet. And it still is a great deal.
Hmm.
But that's just my theory. That's one of those things I noticed, how many churches there were.
There are a lot of churches in Portsmouth.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Well,
it's kind of
everywhere, isn't
fascinating.
there?
Yeah. Well, the mural has what, like 13 or 16 or something like that.
And those are just the really old ones.
Yeah, that's
Right.
pretty amazing. It seems like there's a lot of religious diversity, actually.
It's changing more and more. And so let me just hop in here.
Yeah.
I know that there are differences, like she was talking about her husband being the Southern Baptist and don't do anything during the day, and I know folks like that, and then I know folks that are not at all. So it's just so interesting because there's a whole different span of, we're just oddballs. We just
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's when they first came, they grouped together probably by their religion or by what country they came from. I'm sure here in Portsmouth, I know in Lyman, there's an Italian section and a Irish section that have sort of stayed in that. So they went to those churches. And if they didn't know anybody much, they went to church to meet people or take their children.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more religious in this country than it is in my part of England. We went home a year and a half ago, my former daughter-in-law and I, and she was amazed at the churches, how old they were, you know, the services, and people in the floor. I mean, there are people buried inside the floor of the churches.
Hmm.
I'm sure you've been to your,
Mm-mm. Never been.
you must go.
I want to.
But I'm from the north of England, which is the Lake District, which is Wordsworth County, William Wordsworth,
Mhm.
all the poets live there, and that's where I'm from. But she said, Doreen, I can't come to England without going to London. I said, well, not with me. I've been several times. It's too far, I'm too old. But she went and she changed trains 3 times. She booked her hotel. She was there 3 nights and 4 days, and she got a map of the underground.
Mm-hmm.
And she went all over London by herself, just
Wow.
following that underground. I've only been on it once, and it scared me to death. They knocked me down. She did. She went, I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
But she got lost coming back. And that's another story. I'm going to have to put my pen to paper because it really was funny. She nearly ended up in Scotland. British Rail had to put her in a taxi to send her back to my sister's little village. My sister doesn't drive, and she's 77, and she lives in a little village 5 miles from my hometown. So the trains come in every hour, and we had to get somebody, I think our nephew, to go meet her, and she wasn't on it. And she'd lost 2 digits of my his phone number.
Oh, no.
So eventually, we're getting messages from America, from her children, where she is.
Oh, my goodness.
And she, one time when she had to get off, Japanese man wouldn't let her off. It was a Friday night, and my nephew was sitting at the train station, and he doesn't drive either. And he's saying, but I don't have any cigarettes with me. And my sister Pat's saying, stay put, wait for the next train. So she didn't come on the 8 o'clock train, she didn't come on the 9 o'clock train. And what are we gonna do, you know? I can't drive in England. If you're over 70, you can't drive out. You can't get a permit to drive a short mile. Pat never knew how to drive. And everybody in the village by then didn't know where Carla was.
Oh, my goodness.
So she finally we did find out that there was in Scotland, a traffic, rain had blown some of the lines off. They kept hearing there was trouble up north, but she didn't know what up north was. Nobody did. So she was supposed to exchange a train, and there was a Japanese man standing by the store that wouldn't let her out because his wife was in the crowd trying to get out, and he wanted her. So she's going to sail on up to Scotland. And she said at that time I was crying, didn't know I was, but she said there was tears coming down my face. She said one lady came up, put her arms around me and said, it's all right, love. When we get where we're going, you will spend the night with me, and tomorrow everything will look better. Well, then they found out the rail that she was going the wrong way, and they had a taxi to bring her all the way back.
Wow.
No charge. And so she called my sister Pat. My sister Pat said, nothing like this ever happens to me. I said, oh, it happens to me every other day with all these kids and grandkids and everything. And so when Carla called, she said, well, you can't come here first. You have to go to Olison Station because your cousin Richard's been sitting there waiting for you for 3 or 4 hours, and you have to take him home. So she came home by midnight instead of 8 o'clock. Had been almost Scotland. And had seen London.
She had quite the adventurous day.
Oh, yeah. I love going places with her. We have adventures when she can get away. She's my former daughter-in-law, but she'll always be my daughter. Yeah.
So, tell me the story when we came in. Somebody said that you've been to grammar school. This joke about you going to grammar school. Can you tell us about that?
I'll never live that damn well life.
I think we have to get this on tape if that's the thing here.
It's not like that here now, and it's not like that in England anymore. But I'm one of 4 girls, second oldest, and I never got trouble in school. And when you got to be, I guess 11 or 12, if you had the right marks, you took an examination. Everybody from the whole area, you know, all the towns all around. And you had to go all day. And I remember my dad wanted to have me tutored. I didn't need tutoring. And this house I went to, it was awful. And this man didn't teach me anything I didn't know. He was a nice man, but his brother was a drunk, and he would come in, and this is going to be on tape. And his poor old mother, she was a little gray-haired, high-neck. He'd choke her or shake her arm to get money out of her. Finally, it came the day, and we went all day. But I lived close enough I could go home for lunch. And the first part of the morning, I don't do well in test situations, and I was just so nervous. I went home and had lunch, and I came back and took it the second half, and it all just came to me. So I won a scholarship to go to grad school. That's what we were talking about. And I had to wear a uniform, and we went. First time I'd been to school with boys. But we walked on different sides of the street all the way to the school. And we went to different entrances. We sat on different sides of the classroom. We had prayers every morning, but on different sides. And that was quite a shock, because I didn't have any brothers. But I did go to grammar school. And that, at that time, was the only way you could go to college. But I chose to marry an American. I mean, you're 16, 17, you don't have any sense. How old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh, good. That part of your brain has developed then.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my 21-year-old granddaughter, I think she's really brilliant, but that part of her brain has not developed yet. But she does sensible things. Yeah. But that's what I was talking to. Wore uniform, went to grammar school. And I grew up during the Second World War, 6 years for me. We carried gas masks to school, we had air raids. But it was part of growing up. I've had people say you were robbed of your childhood, and that's not true. Because it's all I need. My parents and my sisters. But I wish I'd never told anybody what my sister Pat said. She expects me to have all the answers. Well, you went to grammar school, didn't you?
Did any of your sisters go to grammar school?
I'm sorry.
Did any of your sisters go to grammar school?
Oh, no.
Okay, so you were the only one in the family.
Yes.
And how many people in your village went to grammar school?
It wasn't a village, it was a town,
A town.
about maybe 15,000.
Okay.
And they had buses that brought all the students from around into the school. But even leaving school, we couldn't walk on the same side of the road until we got into town. And then it was totally different. It's not now. Not now they all go to the same school. I don't know what they do, but I did get to go through it. I went with my daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter and great-granddaughter the first time. And we walked up there to see it. And the kids were all coming out in their uniform, but they were coming out of mixed gauge, you know, that sort of threw me. The same uniform. So I walked out and I asked the man that was standing there, and I said, is there any chance that I could go through here, you know? And he said, let me call the office. And I was dying to go through. So many memories. And he called, he said, yes, she's a friend of mine. He told her I met her outside the Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy pub. I might have asked him instructions. I didn't remember meeting him from anywhere. But he told her I met her at the Stan Laurel pub. So they said, okay, come on in. They didn't say okay. They said it would be all right. So we did get to walk through my old school. And they don't have prayers there anymore. They have more, what did she say it is? I can't think of the word she used, but that's because I'm 84, not because I went to grammar school like I remember that. But no, we used to meet for prayers every morning.
How many years did you go to grammar school?
Well, it would be like going to high school here.
Okay, so 4.
Uh-huh.
Did you go to college afterward, or well, you came
got
here?
married.
You got married and you came here to Kentucky.
But when I came here, I got tired of people saying, well, don't you have an American diploma? So I took my GED. I did very well. I
Excellent.
haven't done anything with it. I've been to college a little bit. It's pretty hard, fortunately.
Yeah.
Did you graduate from grammar school before you got married and came over here, or did you finish, or you just left?
I just left. I hate that. My mothers and dads let us do anything, and they should have said no. You know, I used to say, well, I'll run away. Well, I wouldn't have run away. I didn't have anywhere to run to. Teenagers are trying, and you don't look 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so you do this for libraries, I'm still curious.
They're actually, I love it because they're doing my work for me today a little bit. And they have a project about us. So they wanted to come down and talk to people from Portsmouth and Southern Ohio.
Well, they shouldn't have talked to me, really, should they? Because
Well, of course.
Absolutely.
Of course they should.
I would have thought it would have been somebody that is, grew up in this area.
Well, and then we get to hear about how it was different for you, though. How you were treated coming in. Because we wonder about that.
And you call this place home.
I'm sorry.
You call this place home, Portsmouth. You're home here. So
You're
that,
home.
yeah, that matters.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
22.
Yes, ma'am.
So sometimes it's 25 till you develop that.
Watch out, Maddie.
I know.
It's true.
It's true, it is.
Absolutely true.
I'll tell you though, Maddie is wise beyond her years, and she's a very strong woman. So I think she might have developed it early.
Okay, that's
She's
good.
a strong lady. She doesn't take anything from anybody.
Oh.
I'll tell you that. She's good kid.
So you're actually related, huh?
No, we're not.
We're not
No.
related.
We met at school.
Yeah.
And you're still going to school?
Mhm.
Why?
I love learning and
Oh, so do I.
and punishment.
Punishment.
No.
I go into a school and just smell it.
Mhm.
I love the smell of a school.
Yeah, and I love the smell of libraries, the books, and my dad, he loved libraries. He didn't get to go to college. He didn't think that he thought that because they were poor that you couldn't go to college. He didn't know about scholarships and things, and so he didn't go. And he always just loved learning. He loves learning new things, trying new things, and he would always take us to the library.
I did my kids too, and they went to bed early, but they had to read at least a half an hour before lights out. And I used to tell them, read the yellow pages in the telephone book if you have to. You learn a new word. And I still read stacks of books, but I'm losing my vision, so that's...
Oh. What kind of books do you like to read?
Mysteries, biographies. I love biographies. And my daughter buys me People magazine for Christmas every year. And their reviews, I go by them a lot.
Hmm.
And it hasn't failed me very often. No, and right now I'm reading sort of a religious book, but it'll only be my third time. I may stay in that, I may not. I'm doing sort of fast reading
Mm-hmm.
because it's next week. And I don't want to be a snob. I don't want to be a snob. I want to, but it's not the type of book that I would have gone and picked off the shelf.
I was going to ask, I know for your project, you're going to be asking a lot of questions about the murals and what you think about them.
Mhm.
Would you like to stick some of those in there?
That would be wonderful.
What's that?
They're going to ask you about the murals, what you think of them. They're doing a project about the murals, too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be, there's going to be a talk here, and they are wonderful. They really are wonderful.
Mhm.
Because I think Columbus, what is Columbus PBS station?
Was that WOSU?
Maybe, yeah.
WOSU maybe?
It's in February.
Oh, really?
They are going to show it, this latest thing about
Oh, is that the Beyond These Walls, the documentary they just made?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I came down to watch it when it premiered. It was great.
Well, he did the flood, and that was great.
Mhm.
But I'm dying to see this, and they're going to have, that station is sort of going to own the rights to it.
Okay.
So it will be showed at different times. And yes, I want to be sure I'm watching.
I will. I'm going to try and pick up a copy at the visitor center actually, because they have them for sale there.
Where?
At the visitor center, over there on, is it? It's basically on Front Street.
The what center?
The big visitor center. It's the one, it's got the library mural on one side, and...
Isn't this horrible? I hate my hearing going. I could talk for hours when I can't hear what people are saying. Yeah.
It's at the visitor center.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
You could buy it then?
Yeah, for $20.
Oh.
Mhm. Might be worth it.
Hmm.
Were you living in Portsmouth when they started having the idea for the murals?
I've been back here 15 years because I had Brittany and she was going to start kindergarten and I wanted her to be near where family would be, where she would have, plus I live in a double wide and my daughter and son-in-law have been trying to get me to come down here forever. And I did, and I bought this double wide, which was very old, and we had to gut it, and I gutted that place. And, but I've been ill this year, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's boring. I'll move to Florida if I want to talk about my illnesses. Pills I take. See, I've forgotten already what you asked me. Did I want to talk about it?
Yeah, or just any ideas
I
that you
always
have
take
about
people to see them because I think it is fascinating. I had the girls down there one time. We had been, you should borrow kids because they allow you to be children again. You can go do things, go up by back alleys that are still cobbled and see buildings that were probably where they kept horses and carts and all kinds of things. But we were down at the, is there a glass shop downtown? Okay, they had sort of a museum in there, and they were fascinating. They had leather, aviators, glasses, and all sorts of things. And my girls were, about 8 then? And we went down, and the artist was working on the one near the end. And I had been helping the girls some with painting. And you know how little children paint. And forests. And I couldn't explain to enough that it'll be a black mass back there, You won't put light on it until you see where the sun's shining. And of course they always painted the water blue, and I'd say, well, the water isn't always blue, it's the color of the sky. They didn't get that. He was working on, and he let the girls get up there, because he had a red, the sun or the moon, I don't know what it was, and so the water was pink. And he let the girls get up there and put their licks on it, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah.
And he was painting on the forest, so they were able to see how they could come out lighter, to see where the sun was shining. And I finally convinced them that water is not blue. And the girls have been to England twice, and we decided when we were in London, we spent a little time in London with the girls, and when we went down the Thames to the Tower of London, the girls said, "This is as much fun as we've had in England." And I said, "Oh, good, we're going to put you on the river out here. Next time, save a lot of money." But Brittany was telling me when she was about 16, she said, "Nanny, I want to go back to England so badly." I said, "Sweetheart, I don't think I can afford that." She said, "Well, graduation." I said, "I do not expect to live to see you graduate, Brittany." She said, "Well, we should go right away then, shouldn't we?" Yeah. Well, I think I'm about through unless you're...
That's perfectly fine with me.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too, actually.
me too.
Well, thank you so much for talking with
Oh,
us and
gosh,
spending time with
I
us.
can see that maybe you can edit some things out that are...
I think that a lot of what you said is really valuable and gives us a perspective about people who came to live in Portsmouth from other areas. And that's
Oh.
really important.
Well, you've always lived here, haven't you, Robin?
Yeah, I
That's
have.
what I thought. But they are lucky because they have neighbors and friends they grew up with and kids they went to school with. I don't have any of that. I mean, and that is what I find in my knitting group. Yeah. There's no exams, there's no, you know, it's just a fun